ഓ സെയിം തിങ് ആണ്. അങ്ങനെയാണ്. ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. അപ്പം നമുക്ക് ആദ്യം മുതൽ തുടങ്ങാം അല്ലേ? വേണ്ട. അതേതൊക്കെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ചോദിച്ചത്? ടെക്നിക്കൽ ആസ്പെക്ട്സ് ഓഫ് സിനിമ മേക്കിംഗ്.
So I'll begin with the question.
You begin, then I'll go on with the flow.
So could you tell us a little about the techniques of filmmaking back in your days?
Well, back in my days, as you know, in India, film technology was in its nascent stage. It has just started. It came out from the talkies, from the silent movies to talkies. So silent movies were popular in the sense they were seeing movies for the first time, the moving picture. They were fascinated that a man, it could be in motion, in action, you know. So picture is an action. So that had its own beauty, and there were a lot of people interested in seeing that. And then it went from a private home to theaters. So theaters were made for these silent movies. There was no sound, only the film. And during that time, you remember the great movies that came from 1920s and 30s were the silent movies. Like even now, the silent movies are very popular, especially one of Charlie Chaplin. All his movies were silent movies because the sound recording was not there at that moment of time. Pretty soon, and through action of comedy, he was able to tell a story. And people loved it. Even now, they still think of him as a great comedian. But he worked within restrictions, within constrictions, that there wasn't enough technology to help him out on various fronts. There was no color technology, there was no sound technology, or they could take a married print on the film, and sound was separated. Music was added to it later on, what they call background music. And of course, those movies were highly successful in those days. That was the nascent stage of cinema making, the beginning of cinema in America. Later on, it came to India, in our own country, as silent movies. Then the recording came. Recording was this, songs were recorded separately from the movie. And songs were added to the picture. The famous greatest singers of India, like Pankaj Malik, Padri Sanyal, and Sehgal. Sehgal is, even now, the greatest singer India has ever known. This movie called Tansan, some of the beautiful songs ever recorded in the history of motion pictures in India. It will always remain as a landmark. And these were recorded music and recorded finally on two different channels. Now they took a married print alongside the celluloid. So the sound came together along with the lip movement. The lip movement has to be perfect synchronization with the audio. So that came into being and became a success, and audio came. In those days it was all black and white movie, and then the introduction of color, the 14 glorious Technicolor. You know, those first movies were made in America, and some of the greatest biblical stories, 10 Commandments, Ben-Hur, all of these great movies of Cecil B. DeMille and others are all in celluloid, but in color. And they were great hits. Now, of course, the technology is improved to an extent where it's totally digital now, totally digital. It's easier to make a movie, and it's simplified, and it's all one single apparatus that takes care of all the three things. You know, so the only thing that we have not done so far is a three-dimensional movie. Whether it is going to be coming or not, we do not know. I don't think it will come. We are not looking into that technology anymore. People are researching on it. Whether it will be a success or not, we do not know. A three-dimensional movie can be only an experiment, never as an entertainment, part of the entertainment. In those days, the greatest movies were the musicals. Even in India, the great cinema was the musicals. We used to have 8 and 10 and 12 songs in a movie. The hero and heroine will be singing all the time, and people loved music. Even in America, the musicals were great success. In 60s and 70s, there came the great musicals like My Fair Lady, Sound of Music, and all those films, great films, epic movies, musicals came into being and highly successful and grossed millions and millions of dollars. And of course, Hollywood came into being. Hollywood came into being because some of the producers were going to some other place where there was a lot of sunshine, because photography was invented, but not electricity as such. They needed light. There were no lamps at that, electrical lamps. So they thought reflective lights and outdoor, where there is no winter. The only place that they can go was to Hollywood. Hollywood is only a name of a place of the Mojave Desert. Mojave Desert is in California. The sunshine is there 365 days. Some of the movie moguls from New York migrated to Hollywood, and they started Hollywood movies. Hollywood became a mecca for all the film actors and actresses, all the producers. And the city of Los Angeles, which surrounds it, and Santa Monica, which surrounds it, came into being as a city growing around Hollywood. Next to Hollywood is Beverly Hills, where all the actors and actresses lived. It is a very expensive place in the world. And you can go in a bus to see, as a tourist, all these beautiful Beverly Hills homes of the actors and actresses. So Hollywood came into being as a great place where tourists flocked to see the actors and actresses. So Hollywood came into being where you have all the studios, MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Warner Brothers, you have United Artists, you have all of these great motion picture studios came into existence. 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers, all this, they started making movies. Big, long extravaganza, biblical themes, took about 1.5, 2 hours long picture. They became successful in 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and grossed tremendous amount of money. And Hollywood came into existence as the capital of motion pictures in the world. We have only copied, India has only copied Hollywood.
So you've clearly had influences from Hollywood.
Yes, definitely. Well, actually, when I went to America, it was in the year 1955, 56. Hollywood itself has just started growing. There was Maryland Studios in Trivandrum, just started. And I acted in a movie called, I was the first hero of Malayalam, of a talkie Malayalam picture with Sathyan as my villain. And all the others, the famous people in Malayalam, like musicians and singers and others. That was a vehicle through which all these famous actors and actresses came, that movie. The movie was a success on account of beautiful songs. Otherwise, it's a stupid story anyway. But that picture was a success only because of the music. There were about 8 or 10 songs. All of them were hits, great hits. These songs were recorded in Bombay. There was no recording studio here. There was one recording studio in Madras, Vahini, but there were no recording studios otherwise in Kerala. This is the first time songs were recorded in Bombay at famous sign laboratories, where Raj Kapoor recorded his songs for Avara, for Barzat, Aag, pictures like that, Dilip Kumar. They were 2 artists very well known in India. At that particular time, they started, they became. And as that was the time, and after that movie, hardly any Malayalam movies being made. You will make 1 or 2 movies in a year. So there's no point in remaining in India to become an actor. You cannot make a living out of it. So, but I had the gratification that I acted with some of the famous people, and from the famous Ramu Karyat and all that, I brought him into the movie. I was the one who introduced Ramu Karyat into cinema. P. Bhaskaran was there. He was the first. It's also first time he's doing it, and a lot of others are great singers and great instrumentalists and musicians. They all went to Bombay to record this in the famous Sign laboratories, and they became famous ultimately. And I left for the United States in 1956, 57. This movie was made in 1953. Idu Manishanu, Thiramala. Thiramala was the first picture. And my film was, that was later on, much later on, after only returning from. Yeah. So
what were problems that you faced? Did you face problems while making it or after it?
The problems were there because to make a color movie was very difficult. There was no color lab. The color lab was started in Bombay and one in Madras. To make a color movie would cost you 3 times the money of a black and white picture. So impossible to realize your capital by producing a color picture. It's very difficult to make any kind of money out of it because it's so expensive to make one. We don't have a large market like Tamil Nadu has, like Karnataka had or Bombay had. Our market is very limited. So it is difficult to make or realize the money that you spend on a color movie. So most people concentrated on black and white pictures. Then color movies came. 1 or 2 color movies came. Vadakam paattukal, pazhaya paattukalokke, pazhaya kathakalokke, Aaroomilunniide, adellam color pictures kondu. Some of them were successful. Not all of them were successful. Some of them were highly successful. Some of them were not because people got tired of seeing that kind of movie anyway. They were not interested in Vadakan part after some time. In the beginning, the interest was there. I was interested only in making a black and white picture in which there are few actors, only few people acting in it, but a suspense movie. That I could make it for maybe 1.5 lakh, 2 lakhs. That's not much money. You can always realize that money afterwards. But if you spend more than 4, 5, 6, 7 lakh, 10 lakh, there was a lot of money at that time. 10 lakh rupees was a lot of money. You will never get your money back. So I ventured on a movie called Idu Manishanu, and the songs were great hits. But I don't think it was a great success as such. It ran for 2 weeks everywhere. And I realized the money because it cost only very little to make it. So the idea of making a movie on a small budget is much better than expecting a movie to be a success. Assuming your picture is a failure, can I remain in the industry? That is more important. In the film industry is your existence, your sustenance. To remain in the industry for a very long period is more important than making a picture and waiting for its success. It may not be. Out of the 10 movies you make, 8 of them would be failures. 2 of them would be highly successful. So you have to make 10 movies to prove it. Instead of that, you have a very low budget movie and you know how much money it can make in the first 2 weeks. You probably would realize 50 to 60% of the money after giving to the distributor. The rest of the money you can always collect from B&C theatres. So you are still afloat in the industry. You are still being sustained in the industry. You are in the industry. You don't get out. Don't get out of the industry. That is more important than be a success. A success story is something very rare everywhere in the world. No matter in which profession you do, the great success story is only a minority of people are successful. Most important thing is to remain in the industry, to sustain yourself in the industry, to remain afloat. So you be a part and parcel of the industry forever.
So you also face some problems with with the censor board?
I had a horrible problem. My censor board didn't want to release this movie because too horrifying. It was too horrifying. They said because it's a murder, very well planned. They wrote a very nasty letter saying this movie should never be released. I had a hard time going to Delhi, convincing them, but not many cuts were made, fortunately, because their thing was it was very cleverly done, and therefore there was nothing deadly about it. I mean, there is nothing frightening or fearful about it. It is frightening because of its suspense. But that's all motion picture making. If you tell Hitchcock he should not make movies because it's horrifying and sensitive, and it is, then you're not making movies. That you come against making creative movies. All creative movies are suspenseful, interesting, and what shall I say, put you on the run, in the sense that you're pursued by fear. You're daunted by fear. Some amount of fear is there. That creates suspense in the movie. It is the fear that creates suspense. Some amount of fear. Oh my God, what will happen to my heroine? What will happen to my hero? Will he be caught? Will he be killed? All of these things because of a fear being generated in your heart. You're daunted by fear. It is the clever way of editing it, the clever way of showing what to be seen and what not to be seen.
So how is editing? What do you mean?
Editing is what you put first and what you put second. Is what editing is all about. So you have a shot of a tiger, you have a shot of a man frightened of the tiger. If you show the tiger first, if you show the fright second, then there is no fright. He is frightened because of the tiger. So you show the fright first, then you say the reason for the fright is the tiger. The tiger should come second. In a way, in the entire movie you will find which should be first, which one should be first, second. So the suspended fear and expectation, all of these things creates fear, and that is the interesting aspect of filmmaking in anything, except perhaps for love and all of these sort of things. It's a feeling common to all people, common to various ways. It's very common to. It all depends upon the theme you are making. Poverty was a theme during my time because there was a lot of poverty in India. So a picture like Odail Ninnu would be a big failure now, would be highly successful then. A story of a chakaran, or a story of who wants a story about a chakaran now? Nobody wants to see it. You would want a hero to jump off a mountain. That's what you expect a hero to do. Not a hero to pull a rickshaw. In those days, audience identified with the movie, with the characters. So if you're a rickshaw-man, you're sitting in the audience and you see another rickshaw-man on the movie, you identify yourself with that character, with that hero. And his ordeal, after he goes through in life, and finally attains happiness or comfort or joy or whatever it is, it becomes his own joy, his own comfort and his own happiness. So the hero is identified with the audience. Today we make escapist movies because most people want escapism. They escape from the humdrum life. They want to escape and come out of, uniquely different from others, jump off a mountain. They would want to do that mentally. They're prepared to do that themselves. So people have become more and more adventurous. We had a caste system, all kinds of systems there in good old days. People believed in all these nonsenses. So naturally there was suppressed classes. There were people who suffered all varieties of, subjugation. And so these became subjects for the movie. How to get out of these systems. Movies based on poverty, hunger, destitution, caste system, all of these are. Even love marriage is always between one caste and another caste, which is forbidden. You know, so here is a high caste man falling in love with a low caste girl. That itself is a subject. Today it is not a subject. Or a rich woman falling in love with a very poor man. Rich woman, father is a very rich landlord, and he is in love with a young man who has no money, nothing, no wealth. So the parents will go against such a marriage. Naturally, then they come out of it finally alive. They run away, escape. All these sort of things became themes. Then became religious things started coming, moral themes, morality dramas. Always there is a message from heaven, and somebody speaking from the pulpit, exhorting values of life. That values give understanding of truth. Truth understood through values. So there are Muslim values, Hindu values, or Christian values, or whichever. And then there is importation of values. Values that came from abroad. I remember in my days, hardly any woman rode a bicycle. Nobody will marry such a girl. Oh, she goes around in a bicycle. She's not allowed. And she can't wear pants. She's not allowed. So then the entire society is being run by a bunch of people who dictate terms with everyone. They dictate terms with their children, they dictate terms with the community, they dictate terms with everyone. What changed all that is modern life. When modern life came into existence, people didn't care a damn. You don't care a damn what pants you wear, or what shirt you wear, or what dress you wear, you don't care a damn. And there are people to support you. Supposing there isn't anybody to support you, you will be isolated and persecuted.
Sir, so last time when we talked, you told us extensively about time splicing. Could you repeat that?
Time splicing. Time splicing is a technology invented in Hollywood. And people who succeeded were people like Hitchcock. One good thing about time splicing is, the basic theory is that you are splicing time and not film, not celluloid. In those days it was celluloid. So you splice time all the time. You have a story being developed. Say, To Chase a Crooked Shadow by Hitchcock, or Hitchcock's any movie, for instance. Your timing splice all the time. What should be shown and what should not be shown. And time splicing is very important because the movie duration is only 1.5 hours, maximum, or 2 hours. In India it is 2 to 2.5 hours. In America it is only 1.5 hours. It's a short movie, sometimes 120 minutes. This is all that you show in a film. And there is always this character to creating suspense through time element. Through time, you can create suspense. There are so many ways you can create that. If you write a story like that, what to be shown and what not to be shown, and you're being pursued or chased and you're running away from a situation, the police is after you or whatever, you're hiding, this, that, what to be, that, in those, there are things which you show and things you do not show, through which suspense can be created.
So who's your favorite filmmaker?
Well, my favorite filmmaker, I don't know. I can't say. There are so many. I like. Some of them are very good filmmakers. It all depends upon the kind of movie you make. You can make social movies, musicals, dramas, or period stories, or you can make great historical periods, a story of Julius Caesar, or drama, theatrical things. You can show gladiatorial combats like Ben-Hur, Ten Commandments. All of these things are there. And then there are cowboy movies, cowboy stories. The cowboy stories are a set of movies set in a situation in Texas. That's where all the so-called cowboys lived. The whole of Arizona and Texas. And it's a myth, actually. It's a myth. We think of cowboy means somebody on a horseback, and gunslinging, tavern story where people are being shot at, killed, and there is all. These movies always had a market in America, not anywhere else, but market in America, definitely, because it is a period story. It's happened in 30s and 40s and 50s. When started 60s, motorcycles, cars and started coming in, there were no horse riding or anything of that sort. So the horse riding and culture and the so-called Texan culture of taking care of the flocks of animals, and the cattle ranchers, they were there. And after taverns, cattle ranchers, and the way of life that they had, and the Mexicans, the people who lived off the land, and they were the Mexicans who came from there. They were also on the horseback. Then the American Indians who lived before the Americans came into America, they were the original inhabitants. And their story is all part and parcel of cowboy movies. Cowboy means the cattle herders. That's all it means. And they became a part of American culture. There is no culture otherwise America can lift up and say, this is my culture. Because there is a nation of immigrants. They came from every part of the world. Every part of the world. But if they have a culture of their own, it is the cowboy culture.
So what were the influences that you drew from Hollywood films by making your own?
Nothing really much. I have to come here and merge myself into what is going on here. But when I made Idu Manishano, I knew that I can make money in 2 weeks. And after that it will not run. It will not run in BNC theatres. They won't understand it. It is not a theme which is difficult to understand, but it is some kind of a theme that Hitchcock would make. And I can make a movie on a dead body, for instance. Somebody died, but I can't bury him. My problem is burying him. That I buried him at a place, and all of a sudden, maybe body is missing. And invariably, the suspense movies of Hitchcock has always the story of a dead body, somewhere missing. And he will show something and he will not show something else. Instead of that, he will show something else. He has a way of hiding a few things and show only what people to see. This way, technically and technologically, he created suspense without going into the artistic aspect of it. So Hitchcock movies doesn't have that fine quality of art. It is only cutting the time, all the time. He is fooling around.
So you adopted that?
That technology, yeah. And also he used a lot of psychology in it. A lot of psychology is in it. Say for instance, say a man is escaping from a murder. He is being pursued. He is being hunted. And he runs away. Actually, he is not the murderer. But he is being mistaken. Say for instance, he runs away and goes to a tennis match. But tennis match, there's a nice place to hide. Goes there, sits in the audience. And the camera is right in front of him. And every time, when you sit with people watching a tennis match, you will always go like this. That's the way the ball goes, the hits. But this man, his eyes is straight because he's not interested in the match. He's only interested in himself, how to escape. By simply showing others going this way and him sitting straight, you know what is happening in his mind. What a simple idea. So here he has created that suspense that he is now mentally worried about being caught. And he is in this crowd of people who are watching tennis. Their moods are different from him. This way, mentally he creates all kinds of interesting things by way of suspense. And all of this is this time splicing technology. Time splicing is a technology that one should learn. It's the basic thing in motion picture making if you want to be a success. Today they are doing it now. The big time movies and all of these things, Hollywood technology is being brought in here, and they're making it. But you see that in some of the great pictures, how the suspense was created in every phase of the drama. The movie Titanic, for instance, is only a story of a ship and passengers. But he exploded a love story in it. And that too with a very poor boy and with a rich woman who has a horrible husband or boyfriend or whoever. And it's all happening in the Titanic. And the ship is being wrecked by an iceberg and going down. Yet it's a love story. And here is that lady, the lady who escapes tells a story, entire story. A story that happened in that wreckage.
What year did you make your first film?
What's that? The first movie in 1972.
So was it outdoor shooting or studio album?
Mainly indoor.
Indoor. So everything was set up?
Just one or two songs outside.
So the studio album?
Well, in Madras, Karthika Studios, and I also did in Vahini, some of that. There is a unit which you hire, and you can do it inside or outside. Some of the songs were all done outside. It was a black and white. I got the prize for the best song. I got prize for the best screenplay and best photography. The three prizes I got. I would have gotten the best prize for the movie, but not for another picture that came. M.P. Vasavan Nayar's Nirmalyam. People were after that because he's a very well-known man. We don't give it to him. But the jury wrote to me, says your movie was much better. So even now you can see that. So that movie called Sugamaru Bintu, Dukamaru Bintu, that is there. Life is a pendulum that swings between a tear and a smile. That is the idea of the movie also. That made into a song. The song was a hit. I got an award for best screenplay. It had a best photography. But
so you wrote the screenplay?
Yeah, I wrote everything. Everything was done by me. With hardly few actors and with little money. The entire picture cost me 2,70,000 rupees. That's how it cost. And then I found out that it is better to make a comedy than a suspense movie.
So that happened much later?
Much later. I said, there is no point in making these cerebral movies. That's seen only by a thin veneer of the audience, people who would love it. It's an intellectual movie. It caters to film goers, critics, and it is not entertainment to public. And entertainment to public is just sheer comedy and nothing else. In those days, put all these comedians make Prem Nazir do some comedy. It will be a hit. Because Prem Nazir had a very wide audience. But if he does tragedy, he's not good at it. But he is good at comedy. Put him in a role in which he does a lot of comedy, people will laugh and accept it. And one or two other comedians thrown in. That picture was a success, and I made copies of that to all of these, Karnataka, Telugu, all of these 5 copies were sold pretty good money. And that after that I realized that I shouldn't make that kind of movies because that people only laugh at me. Why you make these funny movies, just for money? There's other ways, means of making money. Why do you make this Valipu? But Valipu is the thing that makes money in those days. And there are some one or two actors like Nazir, Sharada and others. If you put them in, there will be a distributor taking the movie. You have to please the distributor. So the story has to be given to the distributor first. And he will allot a certain X amount of money for the movie. But if your movie is like Hitchcock's very serious theme, he will only give 1 or 2 lakhs maximum, or maybe 1 lakh, that's all. In those days, there is snuff in the nostril, that's all it is, very little money. You need more money to make a good picture. So you need beautiful songs, comedians, and wide range of storyline written by a comedian, comedy writers, So that is what I did with that movie. So second movie was hilarious in a success. It ran for weeks and weeks in Sun channel for television and otherwise. But then my parents or my wife and children would never see such a picture. They would only feel sorry for it. Why do you want to make such stupid movie? But that's unfortunately is the film that made some money for me. Because motion pictures essentially is entertainment to public, money to the producer, and art to critics. So if you want an art movie, you are only catering to critics. If you only want entertainment, yes, that is for the masses and money for the producer. These are the factors that even today becomes more and more relevant. Don't you think so? Even today. Now the pictures are coming every week. There is a picture being released today, like bats out of a barn, coming every week, a movie. So there is no discernment. In other words, people aren't comparing movies anymore. Because before you can compare movies, there are a whole slew of them coming. New pictures. Which one would you see? Would you see all of them? What percentage of the people see all of the pictures? The ingredients of a successful movie is not being concocted even today. Every picture is a success before its release. It's a failure only after its release. So you assume this picture of mine is going to be a success. I got this, I got that, I got music, I got color, I got great actors, I got a good storyline, but it might be a failure. We don't know. It depends upon the audience, either to accept it or to reject it. So there is no formula or a medicine or concoction, a ready-made prescription for a successful picture. That was nice. Yeah, I'm glad it was all in English. മലയാളത്തിൽ വേണമെങ്കിൽ പറയായിരുന്നു. മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുമ്പോൾ ഈ അക്ഷരങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഈ ചില പദങ്ങളൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പറ്റാതെ വരും. ടെക്നോളജിയിലെ പദങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഇപ്പം ടൈം സ്പൈസിങ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇത് എങ്ങനെ അതിന് മലയാളമില്ല. അതെ യൂട്യൂബിലിട്ട് ആളുകൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടും. അവർക്ക് മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ ഇത് ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് മോഷൻ പിക്ചർ ഇങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് വേറെ ഒരാൾ പറഞ്ഞു തരികയില്ല. കാര്യം വെച്ചാൽ അവർക്ക് പഴയ കാലം അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടാ, പുതിയ കാലമേ അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടും. അപ്പോൾ ടെക്നോളജി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അവർക്ക് അമുക്കമ്മ കിട്ടുന്നതാണ്. മറ്റേ പടമൊക്കെ ഇന്നും അതിനൊരു പ്രസക്തിയുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പം അങ്ങോട്ട് കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ആർക്കും ഇപ്പോൾ സിനിമ ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ ഒരു ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുമില്ല. ക്യാമറ പറയും എന്ത് ചെയ്യാതെ ഷെയ്ഡ് വേണം, എന്ത് ചെയ്യാതെ ക്യാമറ ഏതാണ്, ലൈറ്റിങ്ങിൻ്റെ തകരാറ് എല്ലാം പറഞ്ഞു തരും. അത് കാണിച്ചു തരും, എല്ലാം കാണിച്ചു തരും. നമുക്കൊരിക്കലും തെറ്റ് വരില്ല. മറ്റതൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കുകയാണ്. ഇപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങളെപ്പോലുള്ള ഒരു ക്യാമറമാൻ അവിടെ വന്നിട്ട് അവൻ എന്തെല്ലാം ലൈറ്റ്സ് അവിടെ ഇട ഇവിടെ ഇട അവിടെ കൊണ്ടിവിടെ ഇത്ര നേരം എടുത്തിട്ട് വേണമെന്ന് എടുക്കാനായിട്ട്. ഫോട്ടോഗ്രാഫിയുടെ ബ്യൂട്ടി അന്നുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ബ്ലാക്ക് ആൻഡ് വൈറ്റ് ഫോട്ടോഗ്രാഫി അന്ന് വളരെ കേമമായിരുന്നു. ഇന്നിപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവർക്കും ക്യാമറമാൻ ആകാം, എന്തും ആകാം. ടെക്നോളജി അങ്ങ് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഭയങ്കരമായിരിക്കും.